There's a powder sitting in your fireplace right now that makes soap for free. Not a soap substitute. Real soap. The kind that cleans grease, kills bacteria, and lathers in your hands. Colonial Americans made every bar of soap they ever used from fireplace ash and animal fat. For over 3,000 years, every civilization with fire produced their own cleaning agents without spending a single cent. In 1767, the first commercial soap factory opened in Philadelphia. And within 80 years, the knowledge your great-great-grandmother carried in her bones vanished from public memory. They did not stop teaching it because it failed. They stopped because it worked too well. A bar of soap you can make from campfire residue cannot be patented. And what cannot be patented cannot generate $18 billion in annual revenue. This is the story of the free soap formula the cleaning industry buried in your backyard. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. If you are not subscribed yet, hit subscribe and the bell. This is where we dig up what the industry buried. The year is 1791, and a woman named Martha Ballard stands beside a massive iron kettle in Hallowell, Maine. She's a midwife, a healer, and like every woman in colonial New England, she is a soap maker. Ballard keeps a detailed diary that historians later preserve as one of the most complete records of 18th century domestic life. In her entries from March 1791, she writes that she spent the morning collecting wood ash from her kitchen hearth, mixing it with water in a wooden barrel, and draining the liquid through straw into a clay jar. By afternoon, she has rendered tallow from last autumn's butchered hog. She combines the ash water with the melted fat in her iron pot, stirs it over a low fire for 3 hours, and by sunset, she's pouring thick, creamy soap into wooden molds. The next morning, she cuts the hardened bars and stacks them in her root cellar. Total cost, 0. She used materials her household produced as waste. Fireplace ash that would have been thrown into the garden, animal fat that would have been discarded after cooking, and she turned it into the most essential cleaning product in her home. But Martha Ballard was not inventing anything new. She was practicing a craft that stretched back thousands of years before her birth. Rewind to 2800 BC in ancient Babylon. Archaeologists excavating the ruins of Babylon discovered clay cylinders inscribed with the oldest known soap recipe in human history. The recipe describes mixing wood ash with animal fats and boiling the mixture until it thickens. The Babylonians did not understand the chemistry. They just knew it worked. The Phoenicians, master sailors and traders of the ancient Mediterranean, boiled goat fat with wood ash to create soap they used to clean their wool before dyeing it in the famous Tyrian purple. The Celts in Gaul discovered that wood ash water combined with tallow produced a paste they called sipo, which gave us the English word soap. By the 8th century, soap making was so widespread across Europe that every medieval manor had a designated soap house where servants boiled ash and fat in massive cauldrons. The process was considered women's knowledge, passed from mother to daughter without written instructions, just observation and repetition. In colonial America, soap making was an annual event. Families saved wood ash all winter in a dedicated ash barrel. In the spring, they poured water through the ashes to extract lye, the alkaline liquid that breaks down fats into soap. They combined this lye with rendered animal fats, boiled the mixture, and produced a year's supply of soap in a single day. George Washington's Mount Vernon estate records show that enslaved workers produced over 90 pounds of soap annually using this exact method. Benjamin Franklin's Poor Richard's Almanac published soap recipes alongside planting schedules and weather predictions. Thomas Jefferson recorded in his farm journals the precise ratios of ash to fat that produced the best soap for laundry versus bathing. This was not fringe knowledge practiced by a few eccentric homesteaders. This was basic household literacy. Every person who lived near a fire knew how to turn ash into cleaning power, and then it disappeared. This video is just the tip of what they buried. I collected everything the cleaning industry and outdoor industry do not want you to know, all inside the complete Forbidden Camping Vault, the forbidden lye extraction method that turns ash into pure sodium hydroxide in 48 hours. The cold process soap formula that requires no heat and no expensive equipment. The military field manual on emergency hygiene that classified this technique as survival knowledge. The complete saponification guide showing exactly how fat molecules transform into soap at the molecular level. Emergency disinfectant recipes from 1918 influenza field hospitals. Natural degreasing methods that mechanics used before detergent was invented. Stain removal compounds from Victorian laundry manuals. The exact ash to fat ratios that produce bath soap versus dish soap versus laundry soap. And the 3 critical mistakes that make homemade soap either too harsh or too weak. Over 10 guides in one vault, no fluff, straight to the point. The link is in the description. But stay right here because the science behind this powder gets even more disturbing. Here is what happens at the molecular level when wood ash meets fat. Wood ash contains potassium carbonate and sodium carbonate, both strong alkalis. When you dissolve ash in water, you create a solution with a pH between 11 and 13. That solution is called lye. Lye breaks the ester bonds in triglycerides, which is the scientific name for animal fat or vegetable oil. This process is called saponification. The fat molecules split into glycerol and fatty acid salts. The fatty acid salts are soap. One molecule has a water-loving head and an oil-loving tail. This structure allows soap to grab onto grease and oil on one end and water on the other, lifting dirt away from fabric or skin. A study published in 2011 by researchers at the University of Ghent in Belgium tested traditional wood ash soap against modern commercial detergents. The wood ash soap removed 89% of cooking grease from cotton fabric in cold water. Commercial detergent removed 91%. A 2% difference between a free product made from fireplace waste and a $12 bottle from the store. In 2016, microbiologists at the Technical University of Munich tested wood ash soap for antimicrobial properties. The soap killed 99.7% of Staphylococcus aureus bacteria within 30 seconds of contact. The same bacteria that cause skin infections, food, poisoning, and hospital-acquired infections. That is the same kill rate as hospital-grade disinfectant soap. Chemists at the Indian Institute of Science analyzed the fatty acid composition of traditional wood ash soap in 2018. They found it contained lauric acid, myristic acid, and palmitic acid, the exact same fatty acids found in expensive handmade artisan soaps selling for $8 to $15 per bar. The molecular structure is identical. The only difference is the price tag and the marketing. If you have made it this far, you already know more about soap chemistry than 99% of people who spend hundreds of dollars a year on cleaning products at the supermarket. Are you still buying plastic bottles of detergent when your fireplace produces the same cleaning power for free? Subscribe and share this with someone who deserves to stop paying for what their hearth already creates. And remember, everything the industry buried is inside the complete Forbidden Camping Vault. The link is in the description. Now, stay with me, because what the soap corporations did next is the part they pray you never discover. The global soap and detergent industry generates over $200 billion in annual revenue. $200 billion. Procter Gamble alone, the company that makes Tide, Dawn, and Ivory soap, reported $82 billion in revenue last fiscal year. Their entire business model depends on one assumption: that you believe cleaning requires products only they can manufacture in a factory. You cannot patent wood ash. It is a natural byproduct of burning wood. You cannot patent saponification. It is a chemical reaction described in every basic chemistry textbook. You cannot create a subscription model around something every household with a fireplace produces as waste. And what cannot be monetized cannot be allowed to become common knowledge. In 1837, two men named William Procter and James Gamble opened a small soap and candle shop in Cincinnati, Ohio. They discovered that factory production allowed them to make soap faster and cheaper than individual households could. By the 1850s, they were selling soap across the Midwest, but they faced a problem. Why would someone buy soap when they could make it at home for free? The answer was marketing. Procter & Gamble launched one of the first national advertising campaigns in American history. They promoted the idea that homemade soap was harsh, unpredictable, and old-fashioned. Factory soap was pure, scientific, and modern. They funded studies emphasizing the danger of lye, the alkaline liquid extracted from wood ash, without mentioning that commercial soap factories use the exact same substance in even higher concentrations. By 1879, they introduced Ivory soap with the slogan 99 and 44-1, hundredths percent pure. The purity claim implied that homemade soap was contaminated and dangerous. It was not. It was just free. By 1900, the advertising blitz had worked. Soap making was reclassified in women's magazines as a difficult, specialized skill requiring expertise. Recipes that had been printed in almanacs for 150 years quietly disappeared from publication. Home economics courses in schools began teaching students to buy soap, not make it. Within one generation, knowledge that every colonial woman carried in her muscle memory had been erased from public consciousness. The suppression was elegant. No laws were passed. No bans were issued. The industry simply convinced people that making soap was harder than buying it. And once people believed that, the free method became invisible. Here is what you do instead. Start with hardwood ash from oak, maple, hickory, or fruitwood. Never use ash from treated lumber, plywood, or charcoal briquettes. Clean wood ash only. Fill a wooden barrel or plastic bucket with ash and add water at a ratio of 1 part ash to 2 parts water. Stir thoroughly and let it sit for 24 hours. The potassium carbonate in the ash will dissolve into the water, creating lye. After 24 hours, drain the liquid through a cloth or straw filter into a clean container. This liquid is your lye. Test its strength by floating a fresh egg in it. If the egg floats with a quarter-sized area visible above the surface, the lye is strong enough for soap. If the egg sinks, add more ash and repeat the process. Now render animal fat, beef tallow, pork lard, or any cooking fat will work. Heat the fat gently in a pot until it melts completely, then strain it through cheesecloth to remove impurities. Measure your lye and fat. For a basic batch, use 1 part lye to 3 parts fat by volume. Pour the lye into a large pot, add the melted fat, and stir constantly over low heat for 1 to 3 hours. The mixture will thicken and turn creamy. This is saponification happening in real time. When the mixture reaches the consistency of pudding, pour it into molds. Wooden boxes lined with cloth work perfectly. Let the soap harden for 24 to 48 hours. Cut it into bars and let it cure in a dry place for 4 weeks. The curing process allows excess lye to neutralize and the soap to harden fully. After 4 weeks, your soap is ready. 1 fireplace worth of ash and 5 pounds of cooking fat produces roughly 30 bars of soap. That is a full year's supply for an average household. Total cost, $0. Your neighbor is buying $6 bottles of dish soap and $12 boxes of laundry detergent, while you're making the same cleaning power from materials you would have thrown away. I need to be honest with you about safety. Lye is caustic. It will burn skin on contact. Wear gloves when handling it, work in a ventilated area, keep it away from children and pets. If you get lye on your skin, rinse immediately with cold water for 15 minutes. This is not a process to rush or take lightly. But it is also not more dangerous than handling bleach, drain cleaner, or oven cleaner, all of which sit under your sink right now in branded bottles. The difference is that those products cost money, and this one does not. Think about what you just learned. For 3,000 years, every household with fire made soap from ash and fat. The Babylonians knew it. The Romans knew it. Your great-great-grandmother knew it, standing beside an iron kettle in rural America. The chemistry has not changed. Saponification is the same molecular process today that it was in 2800 BC. The only thing that changed was who profited from making sure you forgot how to do it. Procter Gamble built an $82 billion empire on the premise that soap is too complicated to make at home. They spent over a century convincing you that cleaning requires purchasing their products every single week for the rest of your life. But wood ash does not care about marketing campaigns. Animal fat does not care about quarterly earnings. The chemical reaction that turns alkaline water and triglycerides into soap will happen in your kitchen exactly the way it happened in Martha Ballard's kettle in 1791. This knowledge did not die. It was buried under $200 billion of advertising, buried under a century of messaging designed to make you forget that everything you need to stay clean already exists in your fireplace. But fire does not forget. Ash does not expire. And a formula that survived 3 millennia will not disappear because a corporation wished it away. If this vault opens something for you, subscribe and share it. Every share preserves what the cleaning industry tried to erase from your memory. Every subscription keeps this vault from being locked shut again. The next vault opens soon, and what the industry buried this time is even heavier.